We have two mega trends from a technology point of view. That one is what we call the Internet of Things. Everything will be connected. That we forecast in the next decade 50 billion devices. And the other thing is everything will be cloud-based, new business models. And so that gives all kinds of new opportunities, new consumption models. And so we see that as an enabler for transformational change. And with all these 700 million people going to be urbanized, 3 billion people will be connected to the internet. It will enable new opportunities and business models that so far we've only been able to dream of.
What is your hope? Is your hope technology? Is your hope rationality? Why do you think that'll occur?
Yeah, it's more than hope. I think it's, in India they call it inclusive growth. In other countries we call it a participative democracy. But how can we get people included? How can we give people access to education, to healthcare, to work, give them decent lives? Is of course the whole background. A transformational shift has to happen. That we can't build cities like we did in the past. And we have to think in different ways. And that if you think a decade out, 1 out of every 3 workers in the world will be Indian. And that part of the world is aging, part of the world is aging and shrinking. And then you have countries like India, but also the Middle East, Africa. You see still an enormous amount of people being added, and that over the next decades. And I think that technology can be a key enabler to transform societies, to give people access at affordable costs, at cloud-based services. So we need courageous leadership, that thought leadership in general. And that we see a couple of projects going like that in India. But if you also go to China, where we talk about 100 cities being built of 1 million people and more, in the US, in Europe, revitalization of cities, and that we have to start thinking in different contexts. You don't buy the technology, you provision the services. And so you will see more and more services available that people consume. At this moment, if I go in an apartment, I go to a store and I buy wireless and I buy a set-top box and I install it. But we anticipate that, in the future, that will be built in and you consume services. You don't buy technology. The technology is bought in, built in. You could even think about it as the fourth utility.
This must be easier to do in an emerging city, a new city, than it is in a New York or a Paris or a Rotterdam.
So you can build it up from the ground, and that again with the master plan. But you see in revitalization projects that are going on around the world, that a lot of cities have to reinvent themselves because manufacturing has gone. That they want to attract new investors, innovation, and that's how do you obtain sustainability for your citizens. And so you see a lot of revitalization projects going on in the life cycle of buildings. And there are insertion moments that you can make the building smart. For instance, in an enterprise building, if you install a new air conditioning system, perhaps that's the moment to think about a new infrastructural play in that building.
You mentioned that urban planners have yet to discover what you can do with technology.
I love urban planners who embrace technology and then who see the transformational potential. That's, generation 50 plus thinks different than young kids. That if I see how my children learn and work and communicate. And that's dramatic. It's generational. It's dramatically different. And the way they go to school and that
Yes.
how things are provided to them. Urban planners have to look more through the eyes of children. And that
Hmm.
what can we envision? And that if I'm not careful, I'm prisoner of my own experiences, and I don't think out of the box. And then again, you come back, and it's, if you think about it, that 3 billion people are going to be connected to the internet in the next decade. People in rural areas will get access to ICT via cell phone before they get access to water or electricity. And it's so you will see all kinds of new business models and patterns. You need an environment in cities where people want to come together, where they eat together, and that where you have that cluster of activities coming together, and then innovation will happen and new ideas. It's basically, we were in Paris, that Paris, that with art and Montmartre, and a lot of new things started. New Orleans with music, Silicon Valley with innovation from a technology point of view.
Hmm.
And what you will see now happening is that these type of things will also be virtually. And that because, with this, what we do here now, I can set up a community of experts in 5 minutes.